Hello and welcome to another MTA, number 7. For the 25th of July, we recorded the other one as well. My name is Mosen, and today's topics: Bloodvine set bonus for casters, Goblin separate charge, killed this red. Goblin separate charges and promotions for it. Another gold farming tip. And useful consumables in general. Okay, so the first one comes in from, now I had to translate this because I'm not Ukrainian or Russian. But it turned out this is supposed to be Ukrainian. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it comes from Kolya. I don't know. That's just what the translate said. Sorry if I got that wrong, but yeah. The question is it necessary for casters to have tailoring when ZG patches out? Could they go without it, or nobody will get them in the raid? Another one. Engineering on visitors. Was in the guild where people got promoted for getting engineering just for that one boss. Leveling fresh right now and wondering if I should go engineering because of that. Yeah, that's a good question. For example, that's exactly the kind of questions that we want. That can give someone help, and you're probably not the only person wondering about this. So this is a 2-question question, for example. So we'll start out with the first one, the Bloodvine. The Bloodvine set, I presume, is what you mean with going tailoring for ZG patch. Okay, so the Bloodvine set is fucking really good for casters in general. It provides you with a lot of spell hit that haven't been in game before until that ZG patch. That's why he's asking. So most casters then start crafting the Bloodvine set, where you get your spell hit and you'll have a big increase in damage through that. And the set bonus of the Bloodvine is 2% spell crit. You only get it if you're a tailor. So that's why the question, should you roll tailor for it? And the answer is that really depends, because it depends on the professions you already have. Sip of coffee here. On the professions you already have, and if you're willing to drop them. Usually, yes, it's really good. But then again, think of it that way, that after ZG is out and AQ hits, so you're still gonna wear Bloodvine, but there's gonna be other items out as well, and you are going to replace it eventually. But it's still a really, really good set bonus. It's 2% spell crit. It's huge, but you don't necessarily have to have it, because what will also happen is you might you might replace 1 or 2 items of the Bloodvine and have 1 left, and then that already breaks the set bonus, if I'm not wrong. And for example, the Ringo's frost boots, or whatever they're called, from Blackwind, they're trash. Now, I'm not a huge mage pro or warlock pro, but what I've seen from the people that are really good in our guild, they get along without the set bonus just fine. Let's just say it's not a must-have. It's just it's pretty good. Let's just put it that way. And if you don't want to have, if you can just keep that profession and you don't mind it, just keep it until. So my suggestion would be, just get it, or be tailor or whatever, at the start of the server maybe, and then until you break the Bloodvine again, then you could maybe swap out for a gathering profession. And it's maybe not a bad idea, because at the point where you're gonna drop tailoring and break the set bonus because you're getting better items is usually the point where AQ40 and Naxxramas hits. And at that point, it's usually a good idea to have a gathering profession for it, right? Or at least alchemy or something, but usually gathering profession, because you're going to need a lot of consumables, and you can then get the stuff yourself. And since you're not using the set bonus anymore, why not break it then and keep tailoring up until then? And herbalism is usually also a pretty easy one to level up. So yeah, I would say it's nice on top. Definitely, don't get me wrong. I think especially because for like warlocks, it's really strong, a little bit stronger than mages, but I could be wrong. Like I said, I know it's a nice to have for most classes. You don't need it as a shadow priest, for example. That I know, because shadow priests don't go for crit because they're using dots and only might blast. And again, there it's nice to have it on top as long as you're wearing it anyway. But I would just suggest getting tailoring, using the set bonus until you break the Bloodvine, because you get better items, and then you switch out of tailoring to maybe a gathering profession, or just keep tailoring or frost resistance items for next or whatever. There's always ways to monetize your profession. Some others, some are better than others. That's just the way it is, sure. But it depends on what your second profession is. And that maybe leads into the second question as well. If you are, engineering is a really, really strong profession. It's just like if you're a DPS, I would say for DPS classes, it's probably one of the better ones, because you can utilize it in PvP while you're ranking, and some really good premates actually have the requirement for you to have engineering, because they want everyone to have these little extras, right? The iron grenades that stun someone that's carrying a flag or is tapping a base, and you can throw it while walking. Maybe avoid a cap that usually turns games around. So that's really, really, really good for PvP. Just not to speak of mind controlling people out of the battleground or stuff like that. And rocket boots, all sorts of shit. And for PvE, if you go goblin, yeah, the separate charges are really strong. Now, your question was if people should be promoted because they have those separate charges that are really just essential on that maybe one boss, really, that it makes a difference of killing him in one phase or not. I think it's silly to promote somebody because of his professions, because it's a little bit, it depends a little bit which kind of guild you were in. If it's a guild that practices Naxxramas for 3 months before it comes out on a private realm, it's probably just the way they are, and if you want to play there, that's the sort of people that gather there, I guess, and then you just have to adapt. They just want to have the maximum output on every DPS class, I guess, or tank, healer, I don't know. I personally don't play that way. I don't like playing that way. I don't like usually the attitude those people have. And I think certainly for a DPS class, if you want to min-max everything, then yeah, for a DPS class you could be engineer, because it has a big potential for PvE. Now, the way we handle it is we promote based on performance and how active you are in raids, and if you're not a douchebag and everything, and all sorts of things. And basically the performance will be better if you use them. We're not saying we're going to promote you because you have those, but when you have those, your damage is going to be a little bit higher than other people's damage, naturally. That's the same for consumables. We don't tell anyone you need to consumable up, right? But we will see that the people that do consumable up are performing much better than the ones that aren't, and thus they get promoted. So we keep it more on the natural selection thing. No one's forced to do anything, but performance plays in. And usually, we also see who's consuming up, who's putting effort in. So that was a really long answer for that question. So should you go engineering? I'd recommend it, yeah. Honestly, I'd just recommend it, yeah. What you shouldn't do is go engineering mining. That usually doesn't really pay off. What I would recommend in general is, now you said what you want to do, just get the tailoring, get it up until you break Bloodvine, and get engineering. Or maybe just get mining engineering, get engineering tailoring on your main now, and already make an alt that you just play once in a while when you're tired of leveling or whatever, and you give him mining, right? You give him mining and herbing or something, and then you can gather with the one and build shit with the second one. That's also good. That way you wouldn't have to drop tailoring. And also engineering is just a fun profession in general. Okay. Since this has been quite the long one already, I'll just give out the gold farming tip, and then in the next one we can talk about other useful shit for the raid that can make a difference. So this week's gold tip is actually pretty cool for the fresh realm as well. Now get this. This is based on, it's a group thing, right? It's a group thing, and you probably need 3 people. Maybe 4 if it's a fresh realm. It's just more of an experimental thing. I'll give you like really solid ones where you can go solo in the next ones, I promise. It's just that I want to get these out of the way, and it's farming demons in Blasted Lands. And those demons in the Blasted Lands, when you look at the map, like right here in that area on the left side, let me read this, on the Tainted Scar, those. And what they do is, they drop demonic runes, right? Those are always good for your healers and casters. And they usually drop some other crap. But what you are really after, and this goes more towards the fresh realm, is the Eye of Shadows, which priest will need for their epic weapon quest for benediction for their staff. They need that Eye of Shadows, and usually it drops from Kazakh or those demons. And now on the fresh server, this still has a value. Like back in the day, when we got items for our priest, the first Eyes of Divinity, we used to make a group and farm the Eye of Shadows there, and then we were like, okay, well, this first one goes to the priest, but I just checked the auction house, and this thing goes for 300 gold. So it's a pretty good thing, and they usually don't drop too bad. So what you can do is get together with like 3-4 people, farm those things for your priest, and then for the next people, or to sell on the auction house, and that's a pretty good profit. And I don't know when they start dropping the Eyes of Shadow, but as soon as they do, I recommend going there. And it's a cool group activity too, and you can check for Kazakh if he's up, right? Always good scouting area, and there's some fire bloom and stuff that you can pull for when it's needed. So yeah, farming demons, take a paladin, I guess. Right. Okay, that's been the MTA for today. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a follow, subscribe, or check out my stream on Twitch. That's the one I wanted to tell you. And keep the questions coming in the sections below. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Bye-bye.